Hey you guys, it's Amy Gretchen. Welcome back, and I hope that everyone is doing well this December. I know that my heart is a little bit lighter today now that it is snowing outside, and it definitely feels more like Christmas. For some reason, it just has not felt like Christmas, and now it does. So let's hop into why you guys are here. So in today's video, I'm working on days 7 and 8 in my 2021 December daily album. And for days 7, which I have in front of me, I'm actually going to do a something with a pocket, with a photo, with some journaling, and then with one of the pockets, I want to do a shaker pocket. So I actually have some of this really fun shaker bits that I got from a shop on Etsy. This is something I bought a couple months ago, but I am certain that they have things like this in stock. I will definitely link to her shop. I cannot remember who it was, but when I saw them, I thought this would make the perfect little confetti to add to a shaker pocket. And I just felt with this small album that you definitely need to have something pretty fun, right? So I also have my fuse tool that I'm gonna be using, and then I have a 6x8 2-pocket page protector that I'm going to be using to help me make the pockets. And I'm doing that for a couple of reasons. Number one, some of the, I want to be able to use this edge right here. So with some of the lines already, or some of the pockets already made for me, it's just going to save me in time. So I've decided to do that. So I think I'm just going to jump in and we'll see how this one goes. Obviously, I have a plan of what I want to do, but as you've seen before, sometimes plans get changed. So let's just dive in and we'll see what happens with this one. All right, you guys. So the first thing that I'm going to do is cut up this photo, and I need to figure out exactly what size it needs to be so that this pocket is not bigger than my album, because I want to make sure that it fits, right? I don't want it sticking out. I know sometimes it's fun to have elements stick out, but I definitely don't want the page protector to stick out. So you'll see me go back and forth as I work on this to kind of measure it, and then I'll cut, and then I'll recut again. And even after I make the pocket just a little too snug, and so I end up having to cut down the photo a little bit. So that's going to be our first step as we are creating this pocket. Now, like I mentioned earlier, I really love this option of using a page protector that's already built for you, because then you have to do less work with the fuse tool. And can I just say how much I love the fuse tool, that it makes it possible to do this. Of course, if you don't have the fuse tool, I've seen a lot of people do this with this sewing machine, and it works out really great, because all you really need to do is keep those page protectors together. You could probably do this with some washi tape or some kind of adhesive that maybe was a little bit attractive. So you could definitely do that as well if you didn't have a sewing machine either, but maybe you had some washi tape. All right, so now I'm going to start fusing my pocket together, and I've got over my fuse tool, and it is good and hot. I'm also using a fuse tool ruler, which is a really great option because it's metal, and you can see that the fuse tool has these feet on it. And what the feet kind of interfere a little bit, because it lifts up the ruler and then it makes it so the fuse tool won't run right alongside it. So if you flip it over, then you're able to let the fuse tool run right alongside exactly where you want it to go, and there's no gap. And I really love that option a lot better. One thing that you'll see me do also is I do one side and then I flip it over and do the other side. And I do that because I've had in the past where sometimes it has popped open because it's not as secure, because it maybe didn't go all the way through. So I like to do both sides now. So that's definitely something that I would suggest for you. Just keep in mind that your fuse tool needs to be really hot, and you just want to have a steady, slowish hand as you're going across, just to get it as even as possible. The other thing I wanted you guys to realize that I was using the fuse tool magnetic mat, and I'm doing that because it's got the grid. Well, first of all, I'm doing that because the fuse tool is really hot and it would definitely melt my surface. My surface is a drafting pad. And so if you are going to be using the fuse tool, make sure that you're not going to ruin your surface. I probably would not do this on wood. So just definitely be careful as you use it. I think having a mat underneath that's got a grid is a really great option. All right, so you saw that I was working on some journaling. So I have the journaling that's going to fit on the back side of the photo. And so I was just trying to cut that out to the right place. And now I am going to start working on the shaker pocket. So you can see that I have a bunch of this confetti. Like I said, it came from a shop on Etsy that I will definitely have linked below. But I've paused myself for a minute and decided before I'm going to do that, I'm going to work on the number. So this is a number that came from an Ali Edwards stamp set. This was a physical stamp set, but I used it the digital version. And I think the physical stamp set is actually a 6x8. So this is definitely a lot smaller. The the silhouette didn't cut it out perfectly on some of those edges. So I just had to trim it off. And then what I'm going to do, and I think I speed through this, is I'm going to stack all the extra or all the white 7s. And you've seen me do this a lot of times, and you'll definitely see this more in my December daily. I really love stacking the things that I cut out because it gives it dimension, but it also makes it feel like it's a chipboard. So it makes it feel like it's more of something I purchased instead of something I created myself. And I really like that look. You could definitely just do phone tape if you wanted to, but I think it's a lot more secure when you stack it up and you do it that way. All right, so like I said, I skipped through it, but I went ahead and I stacked all 3 together, and it's definitely like putting together a very pleasing puzzle because they fit together perfectly. So as you can see, I cut out a red and a pink 7, and I'm trying to decide, and you'll see me a little bit later, try to decide which one I want to use. And it's really all going to come down to what it looks like next to day 6 in the album, and then also with the confetti on the inside. So I'm just grabbing over all the confetti I can find. I've got the ones that were made out of clay, like I mentioned before. And then I have some older December daily confetti. I don't know which year they came in. I think that they had confetti several different years. I have also this confetti that came from Simon Says Stamp. I think I bought last year or the year before. They probably have similar things on their website as well. And I will try and find it and link below. Some more Christmassy type confetti, which is, I believe, what that is. I grab over a few other bits of things that I have in my stash that I've had for a really long time. I do like making cards, and so I have sequins and things like that just in my stash of things. And so you'll see that I'll pull over that as well. And I think I have a little bit more confetti that were stars from December daily, and you'll see me grab that also. I actually don't remember where I got all of these sequins. You can see that I have a variety of colors, but I do know that that case was something that I saw on Jennifer McGuire's YouTube channel. So I have a suspicion that it's possible that she had those sequins as well, and I bought those maybe at the same time. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to guess maybe Simon Says Stamp. There's a lot of card making companies out there that have a variety of sequins and confetti. So there's so many options out there if you are looking for some to use in some of your projects. All right, so now I basically am done putting all the confetti in. I'm just, adding a few little pieces here and there. I thought that it would be fun. This one little pack had some gingerbread houses, and I thought it'd be fun to add a couple just because of, the photo being inside our house. So I think that that's what I was adding in the end. And then I'm going to seal up this pocket. And this is where using some kind of mat that has a grid on it is so helpful. Because there's not a photo inside this pocket, I don't exactly know what is straight. And so it really helps me to be able to line up this left edge so that I can get it straight and get it in the right position. So I would definitely use some kind of mat that has a grid in order for you to get some straight lines if that's what you are looking for. All right, so now that I've sealed up the top, I'm just going to cut off the edge, and I'm doing all of that with my larger cutter just because the plastic is kind of hard to cut. I think I tried cutting it earlier and it just did not cut very cleanly, so I'm using my larger one. And at this point, I think I'm trying to decide by putting it next to day 6, which one do I like? Which color? Do I like the pink? Do I like the red? I decided on the pink, although I think that the red would look really great as well. I think there was just something about the red pattern that I didn't love, and so that's why I ended up going with pink. Plus, I think it's fun to add colors that aren't necessarily traditional for Christmas, because I feel like I do add red almost on every spread, so it's fun to have a different color. So I stacked the pink on top, and then I'm just going to adhere it down, and I'm going to be using some stronger tape. So this is that Scor-Tape that I have. Again, like I've said in my previous video, I do have a 1/8 inch, but I can't find it. So I'm just cutting the 1/4 of an inch in half, and that works perfectly. You just want to make sure when you're using it to kind of burnish it down to make sure that it really adheres. And then you're definitely going to want to do that to whatever you are sticking it onto. Just kind of press it down into place, and then you won't have any problems with it coming up at all. I think it's a lot like the red line tape that Allie uses, so it's a really great option if you need a strong adhesive. Okay, so moving on to my journaling. So the journaling is going to go onto the back of the photo. And it was just, obviously, it's just like a blank white piece of paper. So I wanted to add something fun, some kind of embellishment, something. And so I was looking through my stash and I saw these word phrases that were on fabric. And I thought, oh, this could be a really great option. But the biggest issue with this option is the word phrases were white and the paper was white. And so I felt like it just wasn't standing out. And so I decided to reprint my journaling onto gray cardstock. So this is the same gray that I've been using throughout my entire album. I just thought it would probably be best just to stay consistent. Plus, I really love it. It's from Simon Says Stamp, and it's their Fog cardstock. I love the Fog ink, and I really love this cardstock as well. It's got a really great texture. It's got a nice thickness. It's probably 110 pounds, but anyway, so that's what I decided to use. And then I thought it would work really great with the word phrase stickers. So for this, I was trying to decide if I wanted to align it to the top, like you can see, or I'm pulling it down a little bit and having, creating a little bit of a border. I do ultimately decide that I like it at the top. And then I decided to grab over some red floss. So I felt the best way to adhere this on would be to stitch it. I thought that that would be a lot of fun. It would look a little whimsy. And so I decided to stitch this down. And so I'm just getting my floss ready. I did do like 2 pieces of floss just because I thought one would be a little too thin. And I am adding a little bit adhesive just to kind of help me as I'm doing this. And then I'm going to grab over my paper piercer. So this is actually going to help me get through that thick gray cardstock so that I don't like bend it up and mangle it. So I'm going to go from the cardstock and then onto the fabric piece and just create a cross that way. I think this first cross that I make ends up being very skinny, so it's hard to tell on screen. It kind of looks like just a line, but it actually is a cross. It's just a very small one. But the other one that I did is actually a little bit better. And I'm just adhering it down or securing it down in the back with some washi tape because it is going to be covered and you're not going to notice it. Then I just went ahead and used any washi tape that I had. Sorry that my head got in the way there, but again, I'm just using that paper piercer to kind of help me, figure out where I'm going, and then just creating a cross. So the one thing that I was trying to decide when putting this together really was how many stitches did I want to do to secure this down, or how many would look good. So I know that I was doing one on the bottom right, and then I decided to do another one on the top left. But I was like, should I do one more? Because I kind of did it pretty close to the top. And so you'll see once I've created the stitch, and sorry that I'm so off screen while I'm doing this. I didn't realize that I wasn't on screen. I end up leaving the tail and just kind of adhering it down with some washi tape on the back. And that way I was like, if I change my mind, if I want to add another stitch, then I would easily be able to do so just because I had some extra onto the back. All right, you guys, so once I put it in the pocket, that is going to be it for day 7, and then we're going to move on to day 8. All right, you guys, so I'm hopping on here so I can explain a little bit about day 8 and what I am starting with. So I'm using this digital file that says December Memories, and it is in the shape of a banner. I believe this came as a die cut, and it definitely was a lot bigger to fit a bigger album, but I've made mine smaller, so this is 4 1/4. And then from the top in the middle to the very bottom, it's 5 1/2. So this is going to fit my album. So I actually went ahead and set up this file exactly how I needed it. In the silhouette, you can see that I have some cutouts here, and this is going to allow me to be able to see my journaling underneath it. So you can see as I lift it up, you'll be able to see the journaling underneath. Originally, when I came up with this idea, I was thinking that I would have my journaling here and then maybe the photos as you flipped it, or vice versa. You'd have photos here and then journaling. But because I just did a flip up for day 5, I didn't want to do another one so soon. And so I've decided to just do some little flip up tabs here. And then I've got my photos. So like I said, I've already cut all of these out with print and cut, but I wanted to show you how you could do this on your own, and you definitely do not need to use a silhouette for this. So I'm going to be doing it for my size, but I hope you guys realize that whatever I'm doing can definitely be translated bigger. Obviously, for day 7, you could make this a lot bigger and do the same thing with just a larger pocket. And then the same thing for day 6. You just make it a little bit bigger, and then this piece of the wreath is bigger. So I just want you guys to realize that as you are seeing some of my ideas, if you want to use them, and you're using a larger album, just do it a little bit bigger. All right, so if I was going to be doing this without the silhouette, I would cut this out. Well, first you'd want to print it out, right? We're going to want to print it out and then cut it out. So if you've got the digital file, then you can just use the digital file to make it however big you want. But if you don't, and you've actually got the die cut, then obviously you're not needing to do that step. All right, so the next thing that we want to do is we want to measure out what the square is. And I think I measured it so a 1 1/4 would fit in. And so I've got this 1 1/4 inch punch as indicated there. And I'm just going to punch this out. And let's just say this was a photo, okay? Let's just say that I had a photo here, kind of like this one, right? So we've got a photo, and then I would just go ahead and I would punch it out so that it would look like then this, right? Mine are rounded corners to match this. And if you wanted to do that, you could grab your corner rounder. I've got the Crop-A-Dile corner chomper. And then I would just round the corners. And this is at a 1/4 of an inch. And I think that this would work okay. Might not match perfectly, but that's okay. All right, so what you're gonna want to do, and I'm gonna try and do this without showing my head, is get this in place where you want it. And then I am just going to lightly go around the edge with a pencil, because you're going to want to be able to erase this when you're done, right? And now I've got a pencil line where I'm going to cut. So then I'm going to get my silhouette and I'm going to cut, not my silhouette, excuse me. I'm going to get my X-ACTO and I'm going to cut that out. And if I can find my X-ACTO. All right, so I'm just going to freehand this. I don't think it needs to be perfect, but of course I did do it on the silhouette, so I do it on the silhouette because honestly it saves me a lot of time because I'm very comfortable with the machine. So just go slow and try and get it right on the line. Like I said, it doesn't need to be perfect. I actually brought mine up and around to about halfway here till, I guess, do the curve. And then right when it starts to flatten out, I stopped. All right, so now I've got that cut out there. Then I'm gonna grab my bone folder, and I want to go right along the edge here, and you probably want, and I'm going to grab it. If you have something like this, it would be really helpful. And see if I can kind of find, and I'm just going to go right down right where I had made that pencil line. And then I can bend it just like that. And then when you're done with the flap, now of course you can do it on all four. I actually did it on 3 because I'm going to put the number right here. But when you're done with that, you can just go ahead and glue this down or tape it down. So take your photo, and then we're going to tape it in place. Now of course this will look a little bit better if I actually let me kind of get rid of some of these pencil lines. It looks a little sloppy. And if you wanted, you could actually make this photo a little bit bigger so that you had a little bit of a banner. And that would make you feel like you didn't necessarily need to get it exactly perfect. But that is how you would do what I did on the silhouette physically. So hopefully that makes sense. Like I said, you can do that 4 times or 3 times. I did mine 3 times because I'm going to have the number there, but that's all you need to do. All right, let's dive into my actual project now. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my file and I want to create those fold lines. So you saw that I kind of created a fold line in between the open cut lines so that I'm going to be able to fold that flap back. And when you do this, I would encourage you to fold it back and then forward and just kind of fold it back and forth so that it lays a little bit more flat. And then you're going to want to add your photos. Again, if this was journaling and you were doing the photos on the bottom, then you just do this in reverse. Your journaling would probably already be typed out. But I'm adding my photos onto the top, and they do fit perfectly onto the flap because I did do all of this in silhouette. But you saw at the very beginning how easy it would be to create this just using an X-ACTO. It's so easy. It takes just a little bit more time, or maybe it doesn't because of all the design work that I had to do on my computer. All right, so I want to add a little notch onto these photos because I want it to be easier to open up. And so I grabbed I think I grabbed like 3 different sizes of circles, and I ended up using the one that is 1/2 of an inch, and I tested it out here on the one that I created just to see if I liked the look, and I did. And so I am using the body of the punch to kind of measure out what is center, and then I'm just cutting off at the very tip of it. You can see it's not very much, and I just eyeballed all of that and ended up, working out just great. And now I'm trying to decide if I want to add something behind the triangle space. So originally my idea was this was just going to be this banner and that you'd be able to see through to the other edge where those, the triangle is. But then I was considering what I was going to do for day 9. And I thought maybe I would want the entire piece of paper on the back. So I thought this might be fun to add pattern paper. And it's interesting, you guys can see how different each of those looks when I've got the red opposed to the green. I thought the green really cooled everything down with that gray paper that's on day 7. And the red kind of brightened everything up. So that is one of the reasons why I decided to go with the red. All right, so I apologize that I'm jumping ahead, kind of skipped a few things, which was me just cutting out the red piece of paper, and now I'm going to adhere it down to the bottom. I did need to cut out some of the pieces of this paper. Number one, it was showing where the journaling is at, so I had to cut around there. And then once I was putting it down, I could see that it was showing through where I've got that white square where the number is going to be. So it was a little frustrating because the photo paper that I used for that is very thin, but I just went ahead and trimmed around it so that you can't see it anymore. And now I'm adhering the pieces together. I did think about adding some foam tape and lifting it off the page a little bit, but ultimately I decided to just stick it right on top. And then I went ahead and I trimmed it up just to clean up all the edges in my larger trimmer like I've done before. And I did get a little bit of tape because of course this is something that I would do. I did get a little bit of tape on that paper and I was able to luckily get it off just by erasing. All right, so the last step that I'm going to do is, well, besides punching the holes, is add the number. So I was just going to add the number right onto, the white square, but I thought, oh, what if I added some paper? And of course, having that thought, then you end up having another choice to make. So I was trying to consider what paper I wanted to use for that. So I'm using that square punch that I did at the beginning and just trying to decide what I like. I really did like that pink. And I'm just going through some of the papers and trying to decide what I want. I did end up rounding the corners. I decided that if you round the corners to 1/8 of an inch, it fits a lot better. So I think at the beginning, I did 1/4 of an inch. So if you are going to be doing this on your own, like I showed you, do 1/8 of an inch. It's a lot nicer. So you can see what it looks like with the pink there. And of course I had to put it side by side with the back of day 7, just so I could see what it's going to look like in the album. And then I just sat there and looked at it for a moment and I tried to decide if pink was the direction I wanted to go to in my album. You can see there's a lot of pink on the left side there. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go. So as I was looking at day 7 again and that photo, I realized that photo really needed something because the 7 kind of gets lost and I'm trying to decide if I should fix that or not. But I really wanted something on the photo, so I grabbed over these word phrase stickers, grabbed the one that said Holly Jolly, and then stuck that right onto the page protector. Whether or not I switched that and put it right onto the photo, I don't know, but right now it's just sitting onto the page protector. All right, so the very last thing I decided to do, because of course, once I was done, I walked away, and when I came back, I really wanted to see what it would look like with a green square behind the 8. And so I went ahead and I did it and I made the switch and I really liked it a lot better. In fact, I think one of the main reasons for pushing me that direction is because I didn't have, or I couldn't find another piece of that pink pattern paper, and I didn't cut it the appropriate size. I wanted it to be a little bit bigger, just like the photos. And so I went ahead and I cut the green, and then I just really liked the green. So anyway, you guys, that is going to be it for this spread. Thank you so much for joining me today and for being here. Like always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below. And if you like what you saw, please give this video a thumbs up. It really does help me. All right, you guys, we will catch you in the next one. Bye.